It was just this Christmas that went by, and things were getting busy. I had to start buying presents for the family. I had finished shopping, but I still needed to grab a present for my little cousin. She's not very hard to shop for since she is only 4. She likes things like Peppa Pig and My Little Pony. She really liked, and I say liked for a reason, Max and Ruby. So when I decided to go looking for a present, I figured something like Max and Ruby DVD would have been perfect, since she liked to watch it on a daily basis. However, Christmas meant that most of the online DVDs were sold out on most places. I went to look on eBay as well, but figured I could not trust the condition that DVDs would have been in. So I was stuck in a rut for a while until that package arrived. I was at home still scrolling for a stupid DVD until I heard the, s- the sound of something being pushed into my letterbox. I got a hold of it before my dog did and looked at the package. It seemed to be wrapped in fairly badly with what looked like grease marks and stains on it. Naturally, like anyone would, I decided to open the package inside. Inside was something that I could not explain. It was a Max and Ruby DVD. I had not seen one like it online. It was like some little kid had drawn on it. The front with the front cover and the marker. The title was just Max and Ruby. It's what looked like poorly drawn illustration of Max and Ruby at the front. There were no names or anything, but on the back it had a list of 4 episodes, all with blunt titles. I gave the episodes a watch over, and to my surprise, the episodes were perfect quality and seemed to have no flaws, and it was a real DVD, just just with a home cover. The only thing I thought was odd, the episode selection screen. The episode had names, but they were all called Max and Ruby 1, with the numbers being changed as it went down the list. The actual selection screen was just a plain white screen with black text with the episode list and nothing else. After giving it much thought, I decided to change the cover to something like nicer by printing out a DVD cover, but that I had found on Google and tracked down the names of the episodes, so they weren't labeled right. I left the episode list screen alone because I figured it was self-explanatory. Christmas went by and things were fine. I gave my little cousin her DVD. She was happy with it all through Christmas, but that was only because she had not watched it yet. On Boxing Day, the family had gone out for a meal and left me to babysit my cousin. I was not too bothered about being left at home. I figured now that it was a good time to put the DVD for her. I had put the DVD and let it play while I was in the kitchen eating my dinner. From what I could hear, she watched episodes 1 to 3 so far. It was just about I was just about to finish my noodles when I had heard my cousin screaming from the other room. Dropping everything, I had run into the living room and saw my cousin curled up on the floor screaming. I had looked up on the TV and I felt my heart in my throat. What I caught a glimpse of was of the most horrifying thing that I could ever seen. It was what appeared to be a frame of Max and Ruby standing next to each other in complete darkness. But what I so horrible is their lack of faces. They had lost their nose, their mouths, and their eyes. Eyes were replaced with black holes, and the colors were disgusting blood red, and there was a faint static in the background. The sound was replaced with what sounded like the Max and Ruby scene playing backwards, with the faint sound of static and mix of it all. It had to be the most disturbing thing I have ever seen, and it must have been on the screen for at least 20 seconds before the screen went black and the DVD turned off, which alone was weird because DVDs do not usually turn off by themselves. I was able to calm my cousin down, telling her it was not real and she had just had a nightmare, as she had fallen asleep in front of the TV. However, I knew it. I knew in my mind it was completely real. My parents had rung me up and told me they were gonna be out all night. That this was going to be the best opportunity to look at at this DVD more closely. I did not mention it to them, and as soon as they hung up, I grabbed the DVD and stuck it into my laptop. As soon as it loaded, I noticed that episode 4 had now been replaced with R.I.P. Mommy and Daddy, which sent a deep chill down my back. Since my cousin was now asleep, I plugged in my earbuds so she can sleep without having to hear anything. Normally, an episode of Max and Ruby would have 3 short stories, but this episode only had one. It started off quite lighthearted. Max and Ruby were playing on tag in the garden, and their parents were on the porch watching them play. However, something was off. The sound was playing in reverse, and the parents' faces were that of sadness. It panned to the mother and father, and the voice of deep sorrow. The father spoke. "It's such a shame," he sighed. It then cut short to a sound of static and loud screaming, followed by the sound of 2 people choking. Sounds it The sound felt so real. It made me almost physically sick. The scene that then switched to Max and Ruby, standing in front of what looked like a gravestone labeled R.I.P. Mommy and Daddy. The 2 of them had no faces. At this point, there was no sound apart from faint static. This scene reminded me on, on the screen for about a minute and, and half before it cut away into black. It changed scene again, now showing Max and Ruby sitting in Ruby's room. Both of them were sobbing. The sobs were realistic and heart-wrenching, that it sounded like it was taken from a real person mourning. What happened next was the most disgusting yet saddest thing I've ever witnessed. The scene had changed to Max sitting in his room. He was standing on a chair with the noose hanging from the ceiling. He had brought around his neck. The scene faded into black. Static got louder. Almost instantly, it then cut to Ruby walking into her brother's room. The scene had cut in with the loud static. When the screen returned, Ruby was standing on her own in the garden by 2 gravestones. One labeled Mom R.I.P. Mommy and Daddy, and the other R.I.P. Brother. She then started to look at the camera with glowing blue pupils to speak to me. "Well, whoever's watching this is because you never watch of any of me and my brother's episodes. So, one of these days, you will regret this." The scene had faded to black afterwards. At this point, I had already been sick and was sitting all shooken. The episode seemed to have come to an end at last, as the Max and Ruby song played slowly in reverse. I was about to eject the DVD when the same image came up like it did on the TV. This time, however, there was a text above the 2 rabbits that said, "Death is our only release." There were no credits or anything. It stayed on this for a few seconds before the DVD finally popped out on my laptop. I sat there trying to complete complete what happened. In my shock or fear, I made the stupid decision to break the DVD up as much as I could before leaving the house, shoved in shoved in pieces down the drain. Thankfully, I kept a couple of screenshots to save them on my laptop. The next couple of days went past without anything unusual happen. I had a few nightmares about the DVD, but luckily, that was all in my head. My cousin had gone back home along with the rest of the family. I was I was a late night, and my parents had gone out for dinner, leaving me to watch TV. I heard this sounded like someone posting something through the door. At this point, the DVD had left my mind since I had not told anyone about it. However, it all came floating back when I looked down in the letter in front of me. It was just measly folded up and read, "Death is our only release."